YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back after yet another crazy Sunday, this time in week 9, here with my recap takeaways. Biggest winners. I got 3 biggest winners, then we'll talk about all the other winners. And then I have 5 biggest losers. We'll talk about the rest of the losers. Got takeaways for every team that's played. So that's every team but the Monday Night Football game. We're always talking during games on Twitter. A lot more going on there. Check us out. Links pinned in the comments for that. Our sponsors, Liquid IV, GLD Shop, giveaway, the GLD Shop. Links pinned in the comments. Weekly coverage here. We also got that halfway through the season content starting to roll out. Ranking players, mid-season playoff predictions, all that's about to come out. Maybe we'll take a look at the coaching candidates. Maybe that's next week. We got loads of content, as you can tell. So join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Links pinned in the comments for anything you're looking for. First biggest winner, the Ravens. You got to go with the Ravens. I had a feeling they can beat up the Seahawks. Them holding them to 3 points is even more special. I think I had 30-17. They win 37-3. This is a good football team. It's a well-coached football team, a very good football team. They're really clicking. You see the Todd Monken era kind of really clicking. We saw that in the Lions game, I thought. Before that, it kind of felt stale, kind of felt like the same as it was in the past. Got to have to give them time to get going. They're really getting going. Just to be able to win. Just be able to win consistently, like over and over again, especially this year. With how this year's going, it almost is feeling like college football more and more every year with the crazy upsets, unpredictable outcomes. So just to be able to get out with the W multiple weeks in a row is pretty big, but to be able to do that and beat good teams while you're doing it. There's a lot of teams that we consider good that aren't really beating good teams and they can't stay consistent. The Ravens are being consistent. They're on a winning streak and they're beating good teams. You start with the Lions game, you look at the Seattle game and just dominating them as well. Cardinals, they started a little slow last week. Just a slow start. They controlled that game way more than the score showed. And they were probably looking ahead to Seattle because it's such a big game. So I think people put too much into that Cardinals game being close, even though it really wasn't that close. So they went out here and they dominated a pretty good football team. Now, I don't know if Seattle's as good as people thought. I was kind of hinting towards that, but they still went out here and dominated. They can win with offense and defense. You can argue they have a top-tier defense and offense, there's more complete offenses, I suppose, I guess, in terms of the passing game, like consistent passing game, but the Ravens are up there, but you factor in like how tough they are, the game plan for it, 'cause you have to deal with Lamar, his arm, his legs, and now you got to deal with these running backs. The running game looks fantastic. It kind of got stale. I mean, looking at last year, like we're used to the Ravens having like the number 1 rushing offense, and then last year, not so much. I know injuries played a part, but even that, like, it just rely on Lamar being the runner. Now it kind of looks like it's going back to like a variety of ways to win on the grid. It starts with Lamar, but Gus Edwards is playing fantastic. About Keaton Mitchell, the speed on him, the big playability. He ran all over the place. The production was fantastic. So having that run, like the running backs part of the running game, is fantastic. Hopefully they can stay healthy because Gus Edwards has his injuries in the past. This team just needs to freaking stay healthy. Because it's good. It's as good as anyone right now. Looking like maybe the best in football. I know the Eagles have 1 loss and they're rolling, so it's hard to not say the Eagles, but the Ravens. I think, I guess spoiler, but in terms of the power rankings, you pretty much have to have the Eagles at 1. But if you're going like, who do you want to play the least right now? Which team do you who would you not want to play the least or the most? I don't know. Who would you not want to play? I think if you made rankings like that, I don't want to play the Ravens. I don't want to play the Ravens. They'll beat me with their defense. They'll beat me with their offense. If one of them for some reason is off, they're going to beat me with the other one. That's how I feel about the Ravens right now. I just hope they stay healthy, and I hope this can translate it should in the playoffs, but like deep in the playoffs, hopefully. So very much impressed with them very recent in general, but recently. How about the Vikings winning 31-28 when they're just not supposed to win at all? Kirk Cousins goes down. Been playing like easily a top 10 quarterback this year. And then you got Jaron Hall, who's a rookie, obviously late round rookie from BYU. And he's actually looking pretty decent off the start. Does miss a touchdown pass. It's only a completion. He had a wide open touchdown. Then he gets injured. Josh Dobbs, who just got there on Wednesday, and it turns out he didn't take any first team snaps. He didn't know the cadences, or the offensive line didn't know his cadences. O'Connell was explaining plays to him mid-huddle, and they put up 31 points and win the game. It's kind of like back to last year, how they just find ways to win football games, how they're clutch and they take advantage of having talented players and they find ways to win football games. I think they're just so well coached. For Kevin O'Connell to be able to, work that out with Dobbs when he just got there, like being able to explain, because it's not the easiest offense. A lot of motion. And now you add in a quarterback that has legs, which they didn't have before. It's not the easiest thing, so O'Connell looks like an absolute genius right now. We know Flores has been coaching this defensive. They did give up 28 points, but then again, the Falcons were starting in great field position, and they started at the 1 yard line at one point and actually stopped them to a field goal. That was huge. And the last possession for the defense, well, not the last one because the Falcons got the ball for a few plays at the end, but the one before that, last scoring drive for the Falcons, that was a rough one for the Vikings defense, but they looked like they were gassed. But overall, Flores has been great. O'Connell looks very smart. Very smart. Looks like he puts the team and his offense and his quarterback in the best position to win. Even down players, down Kirk Cousins, down Justin Jefferson. Cam Akers gets hurt in this game. Marcus Davenport's injured. Christian Darrisaw, who's been maybe the best tackle football, is out in this game. Like they elevate their talent. Like they show off their talent like all over the place. With the receivers, Osborne. Brandon Powell's playing great. T.J. Hawkinson, Brian O'Neill on the offensive line. Dalton Reisner's been a fantastic pickup, let me tell you. Madison looked like the guy that, he's kind of been in the past rather than this year. And then defensively, you get the most out of Danielle Hunter, Harrison Phillips, Harrison Smith, Jordan Hicks. So they got some talent. I think a lot of it is elevated by the coaching, though. I'd say that. But yeah, tough game plan, I think, for opponents. With this complex O'Connell offense, you just don't know what they're going to do. And I guess, Dobbs is nowhere near Kirk Cousins, but you throw him in there with his legs, and it's kind of a different type of game plan. It just threw off the Falcons in this scenario. And then defensively, like Flores, again, confusing coverages and concepts sometimes where I'm just like confused. So that's a good thing. They're kind of a tough team to deal with for opponents, it seems like. So, it's still going to be tough. That's not going to happen every week. It's going to be tough without Kirk Cousins, but they're a team that is heating up, and again, they're pretty tough to deal with. And the third biggest winner, you got to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. They just, again, we kind of been saying it. They're feeling back, but are they fully there yet? Now it just feels like officially back, but I think it starts with a guy like Joe Burrow. Like, he was definitely not right earlier in the year. The way he's moving in the pocket is so much different. It is so much different. And he's even got to go to the sideline and put a heating pad and a brace or whatever on his calf. So is he even 100%? He kind of looks like it. That's how good of a talent he is. But T. Higgins, looking back, he's looking back as well, because he struggled earlier in the year. Maybe they had to do with Burrow, but you wonder if Higgins wasn't right, because not only is he's catching the ball. It's the difference between catching the ball and not catching the ball. But if you watch him and you watch his routes, like in and out of his breaks and after the catch, he looks smoother. He looks faster than he did earlier in the year. He looks faster than ever before. Like, I think he looks like he's getting faster, which is pretty crazy. So Burrow's back. Higgins is back. The Bengals are back. Zach Taylor's back. I question that one scenario where they went for it on fourth down. They had an 11-point lead. You punt the ball. But other than that, the play calls and designs look a lot like the last time they played the Bills in the playoffs last year. That was my biggest takeaway from that game. Like, they throw so much at you. It's so confusing. They can hit anybody. Like, they scheme guys wide open, and they have the playmakers to make it happen. So it feels like a lot of the Bengals is back right now. You beat a good team in the Bengals. They should win that game. The Bills, or they beat a good team in the Bills. But the Bills are a little beat up. You're at home Sunday Night Football. You're heating up. You should win that game, but I like them going out there and showing it, holding the Bills under 20 points. Offense plays fast. I think it all hits you fast. It's like, guys getting separation fast, or guys getting open fast. That's just what it feels. It's not really the speed. They are speedy, but it's just like when I watch them, that's what I think. That's what I think. And Burrow getting the ball out, or him maneuvering like early when he knows he needs to. It hits you so fast. So that's what I mean by that. So, I think they're one of the teams to watch out for in the playoffs in the AFC. I really think they're coming. It took them a little bit later than normal, but not a big deal here. They're on their way. So. Very much thrilled with the Bengals in their performance recently, but especially in that game. Are they quite on the Ravens page right now? No, but can they get there in the playoffs? Yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch. The AFC North in general is very fun. Looking at the other big winners, the Raiders. Look like a totally different team. I don't want to overreact from it, but they They look faster. They look smoother. They look like they're having more fun. They look more energized. They dominated the Giants. I know that things didn't go the Giants' way right from the get-go. They had opportunities for scores. They kind of barely missed on, and then Daniel Jones goes down pretty early. Barkley was having a day still, so you still worry about the run defense. But they dominated this game either way. They were going to win this game either way. It felt like so. I mean, good sign going forward. Sometimes coaches get fired and it kind of lights a fire, beneath the players and the team in general, and that's kind of what happened here. So will it continue? But it was a pretty good look for Antonio Pierce and the Raiders here. Eagles. Yeah, I mean it's the same thing as kind of what we've been saying this year for the Eagles. Like when they need to make big plays, when the playmakers need to make big plays, they do it. They do it in clutch situations. So we'll continue to say that as they continue to do that. And it's just they have talent. Like it's not a surprise. We knew the Eagles are talented. It's a big win. Home against the Cowboys. Cowboys are a good team. Another top team in the NFC. But not only that, but in the division, like you pretty much got to go take care of business in the home game because you'll play in Dallas a little bit later. And they do. So it's a massive win when it comes to division and play, like seeding in the playoffs. So it's a big win. It did feel like they escaped. They barely escaped a little bit. They've done that a little bit maybe at times this year. But I thought calls kind of went their way. But they're a very good team, and the talent is there, and they show up and they got a big win. And but maybe things weren't going their way early, like they were down a little bit. It looked like the Cowboys were outplaying them for a little bit, and they find a way. The coverage in the secondary it's still not the same as it was last year, and they actually have more talent. I know they don't have C.J. Gardner-Johnson, but Kevin Byard and his coverage skills out there, which he still needs to kind of get in his groove, but having those corners out there. So I don't think they're as good in terms of, I shouldn't say think. I know they're not as good in terms of calls, coaching, coverages, calling coverages, during the game. I think the pass rush is what they rely on, even a linebacker struggling to cover, so that it was a lot better with Gannon for sure, in coverage for sure. So that's kind of the one thing this year that's kind of showing up, but just a massive win for them. Texans, I mean, this offensive outing, the CJ Stroud outing is just so big right now for this game, for this year, but for the future as well. The defense slipped up a bit. Maybe that's why they couldn't be on, the biggest winner. It took 40 seconds left and to score 9 points, 30 whatever points to beat the Buccaneers. So you put it that way, it's like a good and a bad, and they're like, you did that, like you scored that many points on the Bucs defense, but it was kind of weird that the defense didn't show up. And the last 2 weeks, it kind of, can they have the offense and defense on the same page? Because the offense was surprisingly bad last week. We talked about maybe because they're young players, maybe they didn't want the bye week yet. They were a little, rusty. Young players just want to keep rolling. They have the energy, so maybe it would chalk it up to that with the offense. But why wasn't the defense on in this game? I know they do start this game with a turnover, which kind of spotted the Bucs some points, but. But CJ Stroud, I mean, rookie record for passing yards, but 5 touchdowns, game-winning drive. There's how many quarterbacks can do that? How many quarterbacks can get that production alone? Like, just that production, not just rookie quarterbacks, like veteran quarterbacks. Not a whole lot, but then you factor in the game-winning drive. Like, there's some good quarterbacks that are still like, we still want to see them do that. Like, we still want to see them like be the reason they won the game. That's the thing with the quarterbacks. That's why, a lot of people, like the smart people, wins and losses matter when it comes to quarterbacks. Like some people will say it's like a BS stat. Like it shouldn't be a quarterback stat. I'm on board what it should be. Is it all on them 100%? No, but which quarterbacks, it's the most important position in football. Is the difference between winning and losing a Super Bowl or going to the Super Bowl or even getting close. Like, can you get a quarterback that can single-handedly win the game, and then couldn't you put talent around him and make your team even better? That's what it's about, and they got one in CJ Stroud. He proved that in this game. Has it been perfect all the way through this year? I mean, for a rookie quarterback, pretty damn close, but no, last week he slipped. I thought he was kind of weird hanging on to the ball a little bit. I do think the lack of separation from if you look at the stats, it may not show in this game. The receivers did have a big game, but do they have a consistent separator? I think Tank Dell can become that guy. But Nico Collins is great. Noah Brown looked pretty good. But I would like for them, and Tank Dell will probably become that guy, but I would like for them to get another consistent separator because there's times where these guys get no separation, and Stroud's kind of looking, and he's doing his thing. But you look at the production from these receivers and Dalton Schultz as well, and it makes C.J. Stroud look even better because it's him. It's C.J. Stroud is creating for these playmakers. He is giving them the production, and you see people making excuses for receivers or for quarterbacks. They don't have the receivers. Quarterbacks find ways. They find ways to elevate the whole team. And this is a perfect example of what I've been saying for so long. Like, people want to make excuses and say, oh, our quarterback's bad, but he could be good if he had the receivers. Like, no, if your quarterback's good, actually good, he will be playing good. Good quarterbacks find ways. They make the rest of the team better. It's exactly what C.J. Stroud is going out and showing and proving here in year one, not even full, just halfway through the year here. So, very excited for the Texans' future and C.J. Stroud, but they can win some ball games right now, too. They're showing that. Browns, back to having a dominant defensive performance, which I guess they probably should, but weird things been happening this year, and to hold them to 0 points and 58 yards passing, and obviously an absolute dominant performance. And Watson, was Watson great? No, he was solid. He did his thing. He was efficient, took care of the ball. He ran when he needed to as well. So that's a game he kind of needed. Was it the best team in the world? No, but the Cardinals kind of been playing teams kind of close, and this game was not close. They had 0 points the whole time. So I think it's it was kind of a perfect moment for Watson to go out there and kind of get some confidence, get kind of his groove back. So we'll see if he did that going forward. Chiefs dominated in the first half, and that's what won the game. Yeah, you're a little disappointed in the second half, nothing, and letting the Dolphins have a shot. But defense played well. Feels like maybe the best defense the Chiefs have had, and even without Nick Bolton, no Frank Clark. But they got to Germany late, and I kind of worried for them, because usually, every time the team that gets their way, or it doesn't really matter if it's a day or two, but this was a big difference. And I've noticed every time, at least going to London, that's been the case. A team that gets their way earlier seems to be more prepared. To me, that's not really a shocker. But the Chiefs look better, more prepared, smoother, everything across the board. So you do like to see that. I just don't know what happened in the second half, but I guess they didn't need the second half, but they almost did. But just going out and showing they're better than the Dolphins. Dolphins are a pretty good team, showing that they're better than them. And the other winners, the Commanders looked explosive. This is a weird one, though. Well, kind of going back to being explosive. They can hit you they can hit that dagger, they can hit that bomb, they can hit that explosive play at any given time, to help them win the game. So I love that part about them. Sam Howell, love that part about him. He's the highs are so high, but the lows are so low for Sam Howell. The interception he had in the end zone, that just cannot happen. I guess he made up for it. He came back second half a little bit later and had a beautiful throw to Dotson downfield. And other than that interception, he played pretty good, but that interception just cannot be in there for me. Good quarterbacks, and he still has time to grow, and could he eliminate that? Sure, but those types of plays we don't like. Guys that are good right now, we never really again, Josh Allen had some bad interceptions, but that is a different level of one. That specific situation, and how about to have points, it just kind of just flipped. Being a guy that gets you points or being a guy that wins you the game, and that almost tries to take it away. It almost took away the game. And he just, I don't know if he didn't see the guy, but he was about to throw it in triple coverage anyways behind that, or I guess double coverage. He was the third, the guy that intercepted it. But I just don't want to see that. I just don't want to see that ever from any quarterback. I shouldn't see that. So that's the tough part there. But that kind of goes into the next part, which is kind of a good and a bad, though. They're the clear better. This is a positive, though. They're the clear better team, the Patriots. The score may not show it. I thought they were the clear better team. They, Howell can't throw that interception in the end zone. They got to execute there. They get more points. Either they outplayed the Patriots by a bit. They don't have any pass rushers. They didn't get. It's kind of a bad. They didn't get any sacks on Mac Jones because they don't have any decent pass rushers. KJ Henry could be something, and they got called for some bullshit roughing the passer. It was a really bad one, very bad. Maybe maybe the worst I've ever seen. So I guess there's that, but they were the clear better team. Maybe things weren't all the way, going their way. But then the negative part of that is they were the clear better team, but the Patriots could have won that game. They were in that game. I mean, there was a kind of a very lucky interception to end that game. Otherwise, the Patriots could have sent that game to overtime, or maybe could have won that game. So if you look at it that way, it's they could have went to overtime and they could have lost this game when they outplayed them. That almost looks like a negative, but I'll take it as a positive mainly. They're explosive. They can find ways to win. They can also find ways to lose. But they showed in this game that they're better than the Patriots. Like if they play it again, I think things don't go against them as much, most likely, and they probably win by more. So I do take that as more of a positive. But again, you can't, like, the fact the Patriots were just sticking around, I don't love that part for the Commanders. Wanted them to stay more consistent, not just game by game, but within a game as well. Steelers continue to find ways to win, especially at home, especially in prime time. It's just what they do. Like, they grind it out. They find ways to win, so they're tough to deal with every week. Deontay Johnson, back. I mean, he's been back before this game, but really getting going. I had a feeling he was going to have a good game. Had money on him because just had a feeling about the matchup, but he really got going, was clutch for them. Just a problem for the Titans secondary. In the run game, I was impressed by that. That's kind of been a thing for the Steelers. Like, sometimes they just can't get the run game going. You play a very stout Titans run defense, and Najee from the start, and then Jaylen Warren taking off. So that's positive. Of all games to get their run game going, that was an interesting one. So, but can they do it away? Can they do it when it's not prime time? Can they get it together? And it did come down to a red zone. It's kind of similar to the Commanders. Like, I think things went the Steelers' way in this game. I think things went their way. They're home. They win in prime time. So advantage Steelers. Deontay Johnson's tearing it up. Kenny Pickett's playing fairly well. The run game, for whatever reason, was dominant. Like, you should take care of business in this game. Home prime time. They should be a little bit more comfortable in this one. The game kind of went as I planned it to go, as I expected to go. But the way things, except for the run game, but the way things went for you, the situation at home, again, you shouldn't come down to picking Levis off in the red zone. In the end zone at the end of the game. Like, you should handle a little bit better, I suppose. Colts defense stepped up. That's kind of been the concern recently. I know the Panthers are probably maybe the worst offense in football, or one of them, and rookie quarterback, so I guess it should step up, but they stepped up better than expected. Held them to 13 points, 3 interceptions. Kenny Moore was fantastic. A lot of it was Bryce Young making bad throws, but Kenny Moore, 2 pick sixes, jumping, reading the quarterback's eyes. He's a fantastic football player. It's never changed. His name hasn't come up as much as it did like 3 years ago, but he's a fantastic corner that can play outside, inside, and he's got the instincts as well. Offense, I guess they did enough, but 2 pick sixes. I guess that, what would the offense done if they didn't get a pick six? They probably would have got the job done. So they had 2 possessions taken, 3 muffed a punt, 3 possessions taken away from them. So I don't want to say the offense didn't do jack shit. Like, we're not going to say that. It did enough, I guess. But I was actually, it was a little strange with the running game. When Taylor gets 6 total yards in the second half, had some negative runs. The Panthers are bottom 3 in run defense. They're a little better in pass defense. So I was a little confused on why Taylor couldn't get any explosive runs going. I mean, he's had like 40 whatever yards instantly, but I was a little confused about that. So because they're a really good run game too. So that was weird. That was weird to me. So our team's going to start game playing? You start to wonder. It's not like a fact or anything, but defense really stepped up. They got a win that they should get. Packers, I mean, they should get this win against Brett Rippon, but they hold them to 3 points. Defense stepped up. They have not been playing great, especially the run defense. They stepped up. I mean, no Kyrie Williams. They should, but I like they stepped up. And better coaching. I thought there was a little more creativity. I actually thought they put the players in the best position to win. There's been some questioning on that before. There was some sloppiness. They had some bad turnovers, some weird turnovers as well. So I thought it was more like why this game stayed close. I thought it was just sloppiness on the players' part. But Love was pretty efficient. No mistakes from him. I like the play design to end the game on this one as well. Defense, they could have got after the quarterback a little bit more. Usually that's kind of like the one thing they have going for them. But I think the rest of the defense was going with them, as they should be. Again, stop the run against a team lacking running backs and stop the pass, at the second level, at the next level against Brett Rippon, but they got the job done there. And then the Saints created turnovers. I mean, the turnovers were special. Like Paulson Adebo, all these guys making plays, like they were dominant creating turnovers. Like that's where it's like wow. But if it wasn't for those, which they had them, so and they're capable of making those plays. But if it wasn't for those, they kind of struggled against a Bears team they really shouldn't struggle with. Like I was surprised at the defense at times, like explosive plays for the Bears. But the Saints made big time turnovers. I was surprised Kamara couldn't do much on the ground. So there was some struggle with the Bears in there, which really shouldn't be, but. just finding ways to win. As the Saints kind of continue here, beating the Colts last week, beating the Bears this week. The biggest losers at the top, and I usually put these in order. I mean, I do put these in order for the most part. Some teams are kind of tied, but the Falcons, I mean, if you can't win that one, I don't know. I mean, sure, they're going to sneak off some other wins. And their wins this year, they are kind of sneaking them. They're so I haven't really been fully sold on them. But, I mean, no Kirk Cousins. I know they're missing Grady Jarrett, but no Kirk Cousins, no Justin Jefferson. Their quarterback goes down early in this one. Cam Akers goes down. Josh Dobbs comes in. He doesn't even know the offense yet, and he's playing like it. He's like, do I throw? Do I run? He's losing the ball. He gets safety because he doesn't know what the hell's going on. One of those fumbles is just, has nothing to do with, I think him not, being confused. It just happened, but there was some confusion in the other mistakes. Everything going your way, everything going in Atlanta at home. Guy got there on Wednesday. He's got to go to Atlanta, play on Sunday. Like everything going your way, like going into this game, during this game. If Ritter plays, you probably have more turnovers too. I mean, you have Heineke in. He's doing okay. Everything going your way. And you can't find a way. And you're winning with, not much time left. And you can't win the game. You can't lose that game. I tweeted right after they lost. It's a pretty pathetic loss. And I guess the one thing against them is you didn't really have a game plan for spying Josh Dobbs, I suppose. They were blitzing more than they normally blitz, as they should. Like inexperienced quarterbacks, you blitz them, and they were doing all right, let's take advantage of this. And they still lost the game. Like it's bad tackling, opportunities at sacks. You blame Arthur Smith, you should, but you should blame the players as well. Bijan, I mean, Algier looks better than him. The coaching staff looks like he's better than him. That's like a waste of a draft pick right there. It's tough. If you can't win that one, sure, they can win other games, but how much can we trust the Falcons? And it was hard for me to trust the Falcons as it was, even though they had a decent record, because it comes down to the end. It's a weird team. So it's a bad one. That's a bad. You can't lose that game. 31 to the Vikings. Technically their third quarterback. Like if Kirk Cousins plays in that game, this is a murdering. This is bad. It's ugly. So, if Dobbs if he's been on Minnesota all year, this is an ugly one. So it's an ugly one. Still, it's even more ugly for the Falcons. So the Dolphins are sloppy versus good. It's who they are at this point. It's not me making any predictions like they will continue to be sloppy versus good teams. They will fail versus the good teams in the playoffs. It's not me really saying that, but it's their label right now. It's what it is. It kind of felt like against the Eagles, after the Eagles, the Bills and the Eagles. Now this game, they had a shot to win. They came back, and if they didn't make the mistakes throughout this game, they could have won. But that's kind of who they are. There's just not enough there. Tua makes mistakes against good teams. Defense started so poorly, but they actually picked it up. They only gave up 14 in the entire game to the Chiefs. The beginning of this game was pretty bad, though, but they actually picked up. Are they a team that can't get the offense defense on the same page? It's just, and are they pretenders? You start to wonder, because the teams, they're 6-0 versus under 500 teams. But if you look at those teams, those are bad teams. Those aren't just under 500 teams. They're bad teams. And the teams they lost to, Bills, and the Bills were a little healthier then, keep in mind. So it's a really good team. Eagles, towards the top of the NFL, and Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champions. So they've played the bad teams and they played the good teams. They haven't played in the middle. So in a way, it's the teams they lost to are the really good teams, but they can't beat them. But my thinking is, what happens when they play the decent teams? What happens when they play the teams around their level? Is it going to be split? Can they beat those teams? Are they going to beat them every time? We don't know right now. We don't know. And before this game, I was calling them a good team that can't beat good teams at the moment. Now I wonder if they're a decent at best team. I wonder, are they borderline good? Their talent, they should be good. The talent they have, they're a team that should be a good team, but can they beat good teams? I don't know. I don't know if it doesn't feel like they can, because they're too sloppy. Does this mean they will not be a single good team? No, I'm not saying that, but I also think this is a team that, just like last year, it's teams start the game plan a little bit more, for this offense, because they were scheming guys wide open earlier in the year and just kind of relying on speed. There's more of a game plan for everybody, not just the Dolphins, as the year goes on. So it's only going to get tougher, but you look at their next 5 games, I mean, could they slip up against the Jets once because they play them twice in those next 5 games? They should take care of business, and then you got those last 3 games, which are tough. Then the Cowboys, Ravens, and Bills are in there, and it could be that order exactly, or one of the, or maybe not, but. And then they got that going in the playoffs. So they do have an easier schedule. Like the teams that they play that they should win, like they're bad teams. Like, so I don't know how they ended up with that schedule, but you definitely question them. You definitely question. Everybody should be questioning them. So just mistakes by Tua at the end. They had a wide open Cedric Wilson. I don't know. People are saying it as an underthrow. I think he thought. I mean, that wasn't a good throw for the back shoulder. It was an option route, but I thought Wilson made the right decision on that one. But even if that was back shoulder, it was a bad throw. Then drops the snap. It's just these mistakes just seem to happen. And you just can't start that poorly. Tyreek Hill, I mean, a great elite playmaker, but drop touchdown against the Eagles. He had a drop early in this game, which wasn't super easy, but it was a really good throw. You just got to make the catch if you're the top receiver in the NFL, and then you get stripped for a touchdown. That's a momentum changer. That's tough going in the halftime down 21-0. So I need him to be better. As good as he is, you need him to execute a little bit better. Like, people want to call him the best receiver in football. No, the best in as many good receivers there are making impact. You can't do that. Eagles game, this game, you just can't do it. I don't want to see it at all, ever. So that's tough. Seahawks, like, are they in the same boat? Like pretenders? Like they were on a little bit of a winning streak. They beat the Lions early in that. Went to overtime. They beat them in a shootout. That's good, but. They're on a little bit of a winning streak. Well, not a crazy winning streak. I guess they lost to the Bengals in there as the Bengals were kind of struggling around that time as well. But they kind of been barely escaping. They were very fortunate last week. I've been saying that. They kind of been, even the Cardinals game, like sloppy. They've kind of been winning with being clutch on defense, which is weird for the Seahawks. Struggling on offense. I was kind of saying that going in the Ravens game. So I didn't really believe them because I thought the Ravens were better matchup for the Ravens. And Seahawks have been kind of barely escaping. Are they as good as their record? I kind of wondered that. Again, Geno been struggling. The offense been struggling. And now they go play that good team, and they just get obliterated. So you wonder, like, are they, can they play with the other good teams? Like, are they in the same boat as the Dolphins right now? They're in the same boat. Like, at least they have more quality wins, but can we trust them against the better teams where they're not in the same boat as the Dolphins? Like, the Dolphins have, I think the Dolphins have elite aspects to them. I do, and that's why they should be a good team. The Seahawks, when I start to look at them and what they have been doing and what they did in this game, I think they're lacking that greatness. They're lacking that takeover. Their talent. They're lacking that elite part of their team. Of course, they have DK Metcalf, great player. They have great players, okay, but that part of the team, like, that they can rely on. Like, sure, the running game is pretty good. It got shut down in this game. Like, are they an elite running game? No. Are they, like, can they win at any time with their running game? You can't say any time. Quarterback play, Geno's been coming back down to earth, been struggling a little bit. Not the best part of the game. They're not going to win because of the quarterback. Offensive line, like, it's not the worst in the world. Are they going to win with that? Receivers are pretty good. That's kind of what they got going for them. But it kind of goes in the passing game. Like, not just about specific players, like their passing game. Will they just go out and beat anybody with the passing game? No. Again, they got great young players on defense, but then they rely on just making clutch, crazy plays, which as these guys start, and they got a future on defense, let me tell you. Maybe an elite defense of the future. It's possible, very possible, but they're going to have hiccups still. They're going to slip up. They're not going to make these crazy plays every week like they've been making the Giants game, the Browns game at the end of that game. So they're kind of lacking that, for a team that has a good record, they've been good. Like, they don't have the matching aspects to the parts of their team that the other teams have at the top, and it's a big reason why they get obliterated by the Ravens. So they might be, to me, they still feel like a playoff team. So I'm not going like, oh, they lost to the Ravens, so they suck or they're not going anywhere. Not saying that. Kind of similar to the Dolphins. It's not a prediction. You kind of just wonder. And, can they hang with the big boys? I still think there's more developing to do with this team. There's more to get for this team. The Giants are in an ugly situation. I think some people may just take the lazy route and go, all right, really beat up, disaster start, set them. And it's true, actually. It's true. Like, injured, not going their way. They're not at the best they can be because of that. And I agree with that. But I think people are going to, some people, not everyone, are kind of going to go roll with that as the excuse. But I think it's much deeper than that. I think it's much worse than that. I hate the situation the Giants are in several ways. The injuries, I don't love that. Daniel Jones was playing poorly and then getting injured like crazy anyways. He was playing bad in the beginning of this game. Missing Jalen Hyatt, like he's been bad. Like that contract, whether it's because of injuries or people like say, oh, because of injuries, but because of player injuries, it's going to go down as most of us logical people thought is one of the worst ever. Really, so that's but the front office I think has been doing a bad job. I don't like. They've had some good draft picks. Kayvon Thibodeau's a stud. They already had Dexter Lawrence, but there's not enough talent on this team, injured or not. It's not there. They made bad decisions with the contracts. Kind of picking. Gettleman was a different kind of bad, but kind of picking up where he left off. I question the coaching too. Brian Daboll looked great last year, but this just fully every single time there's a rookie coach. Look at it every year. Every time there's a group of rookie coaches, maybe it's not just one. Maybe some of them they look really good, and then it kind of goes back to normal. Like, it's because of game plan. There's not much out. There's nothing out on that. Like, that coach, his system as a head coach, with that, it happens a lot with offense coaches, with that, those specific players and how they're changing how those players play, and then it kind of goes back down to earth. It just seems like a classic situation. And we've even seen coaches win rookie, he actually won, or not rookie, head coach of the year. He actually won it too. And we've seen they kind of go south. I still think he has a good system. I don't think they have the talent for him right now, but I do question him a little bit. I think maybe he's gotten figured out. I don't like, and I've heard in the past, like coaches are too hard on players. I think Mike Zimmer was the last one. Like players didn't like him because he's tough. He has to practice more, harder. And my first thought is, and again, off topic, but Zimmer did need to go. But I always kind of did like Zimmer a little bit. But my point is, I thought my first thought was those players were soft. I think it's a little soft. Like coaches need to be tough. They need to be strict. They need to push their players to their standard. What they think a team needs to look like. So again, I was using an example. The Vikings went in the right direction eventually, but I got a point here. Daboll is a little different, so I'm not being soft because I'm usually I'm old school football. The tough coaches need to be, tough like that. But Daboll is a little different. A lot different. The way he handles things, I'm just not agreeing with. Like it's just nonstop screaming at players and just screaming at everybody, just freaking out, throwing shit. The team does not look prepared. Bring up the Vikings example too, but it's just one example, but like what they had to deal with and how prepared they were, and there's other teams like that too, and guys go down, but just not looking prepared, even though guys are going down. And is he at his full capabilities and full level? Because no, he's not because of the injuries, but just screaming at players for little shit. It's the way he handles things, and the team looks undisciplined too. We see him getting several fights this year. I am questioning Daboll now. And is it a guy that players want to play for? I worry about that. And that's things have gotten softer in general. Like, again, the whole Zimmer thing, you kind of hear these stories like players just don't want to play for that type of coach. I think they're a little soft. I think the players are a little, that's just kind of where it is. You still have to kind of go with the times, and if you want to get the best players, and this team is lacking, it's lacking health, it's lacking durability, but it's lacking the talent as well. And I know we're going from one extreme to another because he had a crazy, great coaching year last year, but I think that was just that the honeymoon stage, the 1 year wonder stage. That's kind of what it feels like right now. It's really what it looks like. So, am I saying they need to fire the guy right now? No, but I'm not. I think it's a bad situation for the New York Giants. I think it's an ugly, ugly situation from the top down. I really think it is right now. The Panthers have major offensive issues, which we kind of knew, but it was very ugly. We thought maybe they were going in the right direction, even though they didn't do a whole lot last week. Why did they win last week? Why did they pull off the upset? I think the bye kind of helped them. Number two, defense, and then number three, then they controlled the clock on offense. But they got the job done. They got a little bit going before the bye against the Dolphins. It didn't last throughout the whole game, but they got a little bit going. I like it. Heading in the right direction. But now they go south. And I said going into this week, the Colts have been struggling on defense more than anybody recently. Are they the worst defense for football? No. But they've kind of looked like it the last few weeks, and they aren't the best defense. And they're very predictable, like old school cover 3 defense. And Grover Stewart's out. They've kind of went south since that's happened. So I said they needed to have a better game offensively. They needed to continue to improve in Bryce Young, and that just did not happen. So it's a little bit of a red flag. I'm not going to make a major take for the future. I know people are getting on me about me getting on Bryce Young, which I think is weird. Because one, it's my job, and two, I'm disappointed with a guy that's I think is super talented. And people think I hate the guy too, just because it's kind of weird. Like a guy does negative things, and I point it out, and people think I hate. No, I don't. I was an undersized football player. I always root for the undersized guys. I root for I've never had a bad thought. Like I never hate any player in the history of the NFL. Never hated on anyone. So hating and criticizing a totally different thing. So I am rooting for Bryce Young. I've never really had a take about his future. I think he can still be very talented. In the back of my mind, it's like there's some things that aren't on the talent around him. It's on him. He's panicking a lot. A lot of these interceptions is panic and just blindly throw to Kenny Moore. So there are some things like I hope he can. It's like before it's like he can fix it, he can get better. Now it's like, God, I hope he can fix it. But I never said like this guy's going to be bad forever. He was high on my board. Just because C.J. Stroud was ahead of him for me doesn't mean I thought he was bad or anything. Right now he's bad. He's bad right now. He is. He's panicking too much. Quarterbacks find ways. Good quarterbacks find ways. He's not finding ways. He can in the future. But they're in the back of your mind, you're a little scared. You're a little scared right now. But they do just need more talent. The offense in general just can't get it. It should get something going against the Colts here. Defense has been playing better. That's for sure. Defense has been playing better. But major offensive issues, they got a lot of revamping to do. They got a lot of work to do. So that's, will it be done in one off season? I don't think so. I think we're going to see not all the same problems, not as bad of the negatives next year, but I think it'll still be there a little bit. That's what I worry about. But so it's going to be a process. So those are your biggest losers. Some other ones that are just right up there. And we have 4 more teams to talk about after this. But what's with the Bucs defense? I mean, just got destroyed by the Texans, destroyed by Stroud's. A game you should win. I mean, you got that. When is that offense going to get that much explosive plays, that much production against a DeMeco Ryans defense? Like, when is that going to happen? So are they a team that just can't get the offense and defense the same page? The defense has been great. Offense just can't do enough. And then, can they get them on the same page? The Texans spotted you in the beginning. Like Dalton Schultz fumbles right off the bat. The defense gets those clutch turnovers. They rely on those clutch turnovers. The games they've won, they've gotten crazy turnovers starting in week 1. It's just difficult for them to have offense and defense at the same time. Like, it's one of those, like, if your offense, puts up that many points and you lose, it's like, really? So it's a bad one. Like, there's positives because the offense put up that many points, and that's kind of been the problem. The offense just didn't have enough. In this game, they had enough. So, not the issue, but it's just, again, defense. I think they're getting predictable. A lot of cover 3. They're getting figured out there. So that's kind of the issue. That's kind of been seeing that, but this was a next level one, letting C.J. Stroud do that on you. Patriots. Yeah, if they can't win that one, I said the same thing for the Falcons. It's not as bad as the Falcons was, but if you can't win that one, I mean, the Commanders things weren't going their way. Yeah, that roughing the passer call was just god awful. But Sam Howell just gives you a gift when they're about to score and have the lead, and it's no pass rushers. I say that already. And just having more and more opportunity. The Commanders outplayed them by a bit, but they kept letting the Patriots stay in the game. And then you have an opportunity again, and it's unlucky, but you have you're going to have an opportunity to kick a field goal and tie the game. And, it's just a kind of a weird feeling, and I apologize for having negative feelings, but I thought if they were going to have to kick the field goal, the rookie was going to miss it. I just don't know. So that probably would have been another negative if that happened, but we're not going to go off that because it didn't happen. But the negative would be why the hell did you draft him that early and trade away Nick Folk? But that didn't exist in this, so it's just kind of a feeling I had. But it's just either the Commanders outplayed them more than the score showed, so the Patriots stuck around. Is that a positive? But things went your way. You got to find a way to win at home. Somewhat of cold weather in Foxborough. This is where the Patriots start. You should start to win because you're the Patriots. At home, and it's just no. No, like if they played again, like to me, like that's what it feels like going into that game. Like they almost should be better than the Commanders, but if they played again, I'm thinking things go the Commanders' way a little bit more than they did that game, and they probably beat them up pretty good without their pass rushers too. So Cardinals are like they're getting worse. I mean, having Clayton Tune in there but they're going to get better with Kyler Murray, but the whole team feels like it's getting worse, and it's that mindset, that mindset of like we're losers right now, and right when Kyler Murray's about to come in, so it's not really ideal, and they're going to be better with him, and they'll probably get some wins, maybe more than people think, but it's not ideal. Injuries are killing the Bills, and pretenders. I use that with the Dolphins and Seahawks, and why did I use that for the Dolphins and Seahawks? Because they're just not executing well enough. They're not playing well enough against good teams. The Bills, I think it's more so just because the injuries. I think that's really why if they were fully healthy, I think they would be. It's an assumption, but I think they would be up there towards the top. But I don't even think Josh Allen's right. And he threw an interception that was was underthrown in this game, and I mentioned that like is the injury affecting? It was a question mark too. It wasn't a statement, and people were like, he does this all the time, and yes, he does. But in that specific moment, it was just severely underthrown. Like I wonder if the shoulder injury that he dealt with from last week, and then during the week, which kind of made him questionable. I wonder if is that affecting him. It was, was it cover two, and he, maybe he just didn't read cover two. Sometimes cover two, like, so that's a little bit of a concern if it wasn't because of the injury. Because cover two, it's like sometimes it looks like a guy's just wide open. Like sometimes it looks like it's a broken play, but if you don't read it correctly, the safety's coming over the top, but the corner got the pick. He stuck, but sometimes the corner just continue like, no one's in my flat, no one's in my jurisdiction. I'm going to drop back with them. And that's kind of what happened. So either it was a terrible, terrible read and underthrow, or the injury is affecting him a little bit. But then the defense is just statistically, if you look at them, or not even statistically, if you just watch the game, you look at them like the first 5 or so weeks versus the last whatever weeks. Major difference in play, and I'm not a big stats guy, but I just watched the game, and statistically they're definitely major. Like there's got to be a major difference. And then what else is a major difference? The injuries. No Matt Milano, like the same exact time, like Tre'Davious White, Matt Milano, DaQuan Jones. They are missing these guys badly, and Micah Hyde going down. I mean, these guys, they're getting up there in age. Like Jordan Poyer, these guys can get injured at any time. Micah Hyde, just like, you could tell it's nothing really that serious, unless I'm wrong. I'm not the injury guy, but you can tell it's like wear. It's like just getting a little bit, just so many hits throughout the year and throughout his career. Probably it's just one of those situations. So the Bills are kind of turning into that team, which we've seen other teams like that, and that's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. It's more so, it's not even the guys that are out. It's mainly the guys that are out already, like already done for the year, already out. But again, the wear within the game. Josh Allen, and Dawson Knox is out too, by the way. But Josh Allen, Micah Hyde, guys like the wear, you can see it, you can feel it. So I think injuries are killing them. And then the last 4, which is probably the least losers of the losers, the Titans, which maybe not. There are some like they can't win away. Like that's a problem. That's a problem. And one of their home games technically was the away game in London, so that sucks. They just can't. They're not the same team away. I mean, they had an opportunity in this game. Things went the Steelers' way. Things did go the Steelers' way, and they were very close to actually winning this game, I'd say, because they were right in the red zone. I know it's tough. It's tougher to actually get in the end zone in that situation, so maybe not very, very close. They were close. Like, they were winning this game for a bit, even though it was by 3. I was surprised the run defense this game. The play calls mainly towards the end, like to run the ball 3 times straight and just rely on your defense when Deontay Johnson's been beating you up, and even their running game, like Jaylen Warren and Najee started very well. Like, your run defense is normally really good, and I understand trusting it, but you have to understand the situation. You want to understand your Steelers like they're clutch. They're a clutch team. They're not the best team. They're a clutch team. Home prime time, they're a very clutch team, like historically, like even recently. So I think understand your opponent. So then they could have done a better job. Bears, mixed feelings on the Bears, because they were in this game. At times they outplayed the Saints. They played fairly well. They could have won this game. So it's kind of like a positive. A team that's supposed to be like way better than them, they were like outplaying them at times. It's a positive, but the turnovers were so ugly. Like they're so bad, and that's what killed them. Like they don't have the turnovers, they win the game. I know the Saints have a pretty good secondary, but Bajan, a lot of the time, looks like everything goes smoother, goes faster in terms of the actual play design, like running the play the way it's supposed to be designed and getting the ball out, getting out of the pocket sooner. Like that stuff looks better than Fields, but he just doesn't have the talent anywhere near Fields, and we see him making the mistakes. Not that Fields doesn't make mistakes, but I would imagine Fields comes back on Thursday. I don't know if he doesn't come back this Thursday. I don't know if he'll come back, but yeah, it's a winnable game, so it's tough. Rams injuries killed them. Stafford, Kyren Williams still being out, just no running game because of that. I don't know what else to say about that one. They were kind of, even though it was 20-3, they were kind of in this game for most of it. I think if they have Stafford, they win the game. Pretty confident with that. If they have Stafford and Kyren Williams, they win the game. Like, well, yes, they win the game. So they just couldn't really play their game. It's almost expected. And the Cowboys, mixed feelings on this one too, because it's a game they should win. It's a game they should win, and they let it slip. Like a big one against the Eagles. Like, if you would have taken this one, oh, my God, that would have been huge. Like, the Cowboys might have been in the driver's seat for the division or for, whatever, the NFC. And it's a game they were outplaying them for a bit. It's CeeDee Lamb, I know he had a fumble, but monstrous game. Like, Dak's playing well in a big game. Tony Pollard's running well against a good run defense. So that's why this kind of, like, when you put it this way, it looks really bad because, like, when in a big game, like, is everyone going to be on the same page that much? Like, and they could, again, when they play the Eagles again, they could do that. Like, Dak could be great, Lamb could be great, Pollard could be that. Was he great? Maybe not, but he did enough. Like, it's a good run defense. Like, you're playing, like, some of these guys are playing freaking CeeDee Lamb went nuts. They're playing at that elite level, as good as they can play. And you can't pull it off. And when you had control for at least a little bit, the first half, you're on the board first too. Like, so this is a game you got to find a way to close out and win. But, the positives, they did play well. They could have won this game. It's in Philly. The refs really weren't on their side in this game. The touchdown they took away, I'm not going to complain about because I think it was the right call. What pops in my head, and I'm sure a lot of other people's heads, is do they actually reverse that for other teams? Like, there's certain teams, like the other team, the Eagles, like, just based on what's been, you would like to think so, you would hope so, that they reverse it for every team. But the way that things have gone and go, like, you do wonder, like, do they reverse that actually for, because it's one of those situations where they probably should reverse, but they just don't a lot. So, I don't know. But, in general, like, calls kind of didn't go their way. They went the other way. They had opportunity to win. They couldn't do it. Can't allow or take a sack, where Josh Sweat got that sack at the end of the game. So that's pretty tough as well. But it's kind of the positive and negative here. Like, a game you should win. Like, they played great, like, offensively, but they played great and they lost. Like, what happens if they play the Eagles? Or maybe it's not the Eagles, then, the Niners again. Whoever else is the top of the NFC, the Lions, what happens if they play these teams and maybe the guys aren't fully on? Like, you can't have CeeDee Lamb getting 190 whatever yards every game, So, like, what happens when you play those great teams in the playoffs and these guys aren't like you're expecting too much sometimes. So it is the negative there with the Cowboys, but even though there was positive parts. But that will wrap up the recap for Week 9 and takeaways. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Always talking with you guys on Twitter. And then we'll have Week 10 content and some of that halfway through the year content. Maybe updated playoff predictions and player rankings this week, and we'll have more next week. It kind of comes out. We kind of started it last week, since the trade deadline ended. So excited about all the content we have. Hopefully you join us. That is going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.